Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everybody. Episode 303 of the Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate it. We do apologize for the late start if you're listening to us live. We appreciate it. Of course, you can always listen to us live Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern, Better on Draft, on Facebook, as well as Bod Podcast on twitch.tv. As I said, my name's Ken. I got Robert and Nick. Real quick, what is everybody drinking? Starting with Rob.
I am drinking Athletic Brewing's Oktoberfest. Going to follow that up with Untitled Arts Chocolate Milk Dark Brew. And as Van Halen once said, I don't feel tardy.
Doing a sober October a day early. Nick, what do you got?
I am drinking the La Fria, the lager from Second Self Brewing. And on deck is the Festina Peach, I don't know, from Dogfish Head.
All right. For myself, I have, and for those of you who were unaware, we were supposed to have True Colors on 2 weeks ago. Sadly, they have fallen on hard times and they will be closing, but I do have a can of their premium light lager that I'm going to be drinking, as well as a Harpoon Dunkin' Hazelnut from our guest from a week or two ago. With us in studio, actually before we introduce our guest, two things of note. One, next week is the Better on Draft Beer Festival over in Utica, Michigan at Jimmy John's Field. Tickets still available. Come on out. Come see us. Nick's going to be there. Tito's going to be there. Dan's going to be there. It should be.
Wait, I am going to be there?
You are going to be there. It's going to be a great event. You get to go hang out in the ballpark and drink some beers. On the other end of that, myself and Dan will actually be in Denver next week for the Great American Beer Festival. Come find us. Better on Draft. We're going to be running around, both Dan and I, on Thursday. I'll be there Saturday for the members only event part, the Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning one. So go come find us. We'll have stickers. We're going to have a blast. But our guest, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're drinking.
Hey, everybody. Greetings from Colorado. I am Ann Obenchain. I'm the marketing and communications director for the Brewers Association, the producers of the Great American Beer Festival. So excited that you will be there next week. Because I'm in Colorado, I have a couple Colorado brews. I am starting with Wibby Brewing, their Oktoberfest Lager, special edition. And then I'm going to follow up with a gluten-free pumpkin ale from Holidaily here in Golden, Colorado.
We appreciate you joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier, but we are glad you are here to talk with us because I am personally excited and scared to go to the Great American Beer Festival. There are plenty of websites that try to tell you, first timers experience. I know Porch Drinking has a massive list of different events as well as things to do and what to do and not do at the festival. So my first question to you regarding the festival, what is probably the most common mistake a new person who's dabbled in beer festivals, gone to plenty of them, may make when I go to an event like that, and how can I not make it?
Well, I think being too excited is a mistake and thinking it's a sprint. And the festival is really a marathon. We've got 2,000 beers from 500 breweries, 384,000 square feet. So that's a lot of football fields to cover. So you got to wear some good shoes, but just take your time, take it all in, come with a plan and enjoy yourself.
Now, I was actually talking to someone on your Twitter account earlier. You guys actually have an app for the event. How is this the first year you've used an app as opposed to just having like a beer list or a centralized location? And what can I get from utilizing your app?
It's called My GABF, and it is a browser-based app that is free. We've had it a few years, so we're bringing it back by popular demand. And what it does is it has beer tours by style. So if you're new and you want to just taste only one type of beer style, for example, sours, we have the Sourpuss beer tour. Or if you want gluten-free beer, there's no gluten for you. If you like stouts or IPAs, there's 19 different tours that you can just select one of those on the app, and it'll give you a list of all of those beers within the hall, within that style. It also helps you plan. So if you have favorite breweries that you want to check out, you can pick that brewery and it's going to plot it on the map for you. So almost like a little GPS system, but you can check it out and go find those breweries and make a plan ahead of time.
Now, I've been told the amount of steps you're going to take during a festival of this size. What should I expect when I am there? Is there a lot of walking? Is there a lot of how should I prepare physically?
Wear some very comfortable shoes. You're going to be walking on concrete. And just take your time. I mean, there's lots and lots of different areas where you can relax. There is the backyard where you can hang out in some Adirondack chairs, play some cornhole, play some other games, stop and listen to the music at the Icon Pass stage. We've got live music every night, every session. You can also sit down in the Brewers studio, which is every half hour we're running talks from brewers or other people in the brewing industry, and you can learn things about pairing food and beer. You can learn about just a personal story. So that's another great place to take a load off and take a rest for a minute. But, the sessions go in the evening sessions are, 5:30 to 10. So 4.5 hours of sampling beer and hanging out.
How many people are on the staff that go into making this festival whole, and when do you guys start preparing?
Well, we start preparing by securing the dates of the festival years in advance. And it is really a year-round planning process. Our core staff is about 55 people in our office in Boulder, Colorado, but then we add contractors. And then most importantly, we have more than 2,500 volunteers that are on site and really help us make that happen.
And do you guys do any other types of events outside of the festival during festival weekend? Or is that kind of the community that does all of these different events that go on? And for those of you who are listening to the podcast or checking us out on YouTube, go into the show notes. There is going to be a link to porch drinking, which you'll be able to get a massive list by day of all the events that are going on concurrent with the festival.
So this is our only event. 40,000 people over 3 days and 4 sessions is enough for us. But we are proud to work with Visit Denver and be part of Denver Beer Week. So that is usually a week that starts actually tomorrow and runs through the end of Great American Beer Festival. And that's where they have lots of other activities all through the city. There's more than 100 breweries just in Denver metro area. A lot of the breweries coming in for the festival are doing special tappings. We post quite a few other what we call GABF week events on our site. Porch Drinking does a great job of posting events. And then the Denver Beer Week page has lots of events. So we have quite enough on our plate, and we're happy to be a cornerstone of Denver Beer Week. And there's just so much to do for a beer lover over the next 7 days.
Now, before I pass it to Rob, my last question I want to ask you involves kind of like a comparison and contrast, because here in Detroit, while we do have some public transportation, it is severely lacking. With over 100 in Denver Metro, 100 different breweries, all these events, how do people get around the city? Is there a train, a tram, a monorail, anything that helps people move from one site to another?
Yeah, well, there's everything. There is the light rail that runs right to the convention center from the airport. So if you're flying in, you can take that right to GABF. There is a extensive RTD bus system as well, which comes out of Union Station. So that's only a few blocks away. And then there's Uber and pedicabs and other ride shares. So lots of ways to get around the city so you can leave your car at home.
More and more proof that Detroit needs a better public transportation system. That will never happen in our lifetimes, ever, and not in our children's lifetimes, ever. Nick, I know you feel it.
I know it's a totally different topic of conversation, but I am right there with you.
Yeah,
with you.
That is, and especially considering I was just in DC, and unfortunately I flew into the wrong airport, which did not have a rail system going from Dulles into DC Metro. So the Uber for $40 was kind of a pain. Absolutely, it was. But you had mentioned about all of the walking, and that actually kind of goes back to my trip out to DC. I was just at we just did a trivia convention out there called SporkleCon, and there was definitely a lot of walking. I guess my first thing is with those comfortable shoes, is there a particular brand you want to go with?
Well, I'm going to be there for a very long time.
What shoes are you wearing?
I'm wearing 3 pairs of shoes. That's, I guess, another good tip is to bring an extra pair of shoes if you're coming for more than one day. I always do that. I always like to switch up my shoes, but I have Hoka running shoes, trail running shoes. I like those because they've got good grip, because if the floor gets a little wet, you don't want to slip or anything like that. So that's going to be my shoe of choice next week.
I have my Ultras, so those are so I have those, and they're pretty decent shoes. But as you just mentioned, with needing that many, needing extra pairs of shoes, that there is so much beer. Like, while this is a marathon, I guess I'm like, if I were going, I would feel like really intimidated with all of the beer that was there. I'm sure at some point, there's going to be, all right, I'm just go from one place to another. But you say go in with a plan. Like, what, I guess for you, what would that plan look like? Is it like looking for, not necessarily just for a particular brewery, but I would be looking for styles. Like, I'm going to be looking for, I'm kind of stupid when I go to beer festivals, and I go for the 12% is the first thing I drink. So
that's every festival too.
So like, I guess from a style perspective, how does one make a plan like that?
I would use the app. So going back to the My GABF app, it has 19 different tours on it. Hopefully, I was just going to look at but we've got Dark Vader. So if you like dark beers, you can look at that. Rye of the Tiger. We have, oh gosh, let me just bring this here. So you said you like strong, big. So Barrel of Fun would be your wood and barrel aged beer tour that you could take, and probably want to rest a little bit. And I would suggest using that dump bucket. That's one good thing for newbies to beer festivals is you don't have to drink all the beer that you sample. You can just sample it and then dump it, or whether you like it or not, but you don't have to drink the whole sample that you're given.
And I guess now that you mentioned with samples, and I'm not sure how it works in terms of other states, because what we have in Michigan is that we have our little token system. You have to purchase a ticket to get into the festival, and you get a set amount of tokens. You can buy tokens to get more beer. Is it the same out there?
It's not. So you buy a ticket for the festival, And then you go in and you get a glass, and it is 1 ounce samples all night. So you do not have to buy tokens. So that's where we really encourage people to savor the flavor, take some time out, make sure, you grab some food at one of the food trucks or some of the other concessions, and, take your time.
Yeah. And it's 1 ounce. We're used to 4 ounces out here.
Oh.
And and I know with Ken, what he does, and it's something that I've adopted myself, is that, I would only drink half of it and then just pour the rest, because I want to be able to, especially with something like this, where there are so many breweries and so many beers that, I guess in my head, but it's supposed to be a sample, so I guess I have to come to grips with that.
I want to clarify something real quick. I do not dump the beer. I ask for half pours. I am not an abuser of alcohol like that, good sir.
I apologize and I retract my statement. I am sorry. So one of the things that I saw, I was looking at some information here that that the GABF is turning 40 this year?
We are. And think about that, right? I mean, 40 years of GABF is pretty incredible. We don't take that for granted, but we just take a pause and go, wow, so many events and festivals they come and go, and they have a shelf life. And we're just so proud that we're back, and people are interested, and most of all but one session is sold out, and we're expecting 40,000 people next week. So great. We are just thrilled. And after COVID, it just feels awesome.
Yeah. And kind of going into those COVID years, with it being, with not having the festival, I guess talk to us about what that was like with having to go through COVID and not be able to have all of these people, all of these breweries to just enjoy the festival and enjoy each other with beer.
That's a great question. For me personally, this is my favorite event every year. So I was personally crushed that I couldn't be at GABF. And because, as you know, the beer community is such a collaborative community, and it's a warm community, and it felt like we just lost seeing our friends. We're like one big family, and the beer lovers that come are a family. So it was a challenge for sure. We still held the competition in 2019. We pulled that off, but we tried to do a little bit of a virtual festival, but there's no substitute for in person. And, a lot of our businesses, a lot of the brewers, well, all of them, as we all did, were struggling with, keeping the doors open. They were focused on reinventing themselves, doing curbside delivery, pickup delivery, everything they could to stay in business and come out of the other side. So this festival is really a celebration of them, I think, and the community of beer lovers. So looking forward to seeing everybody.
Nice. And I guess going into the change, or the changes that have happened, just like we said with the delivery, the curbside pickups, I'm guessing there have been some outdoor patio area type things that have happened in the area. Are there any of those particular COVID related items that have been put into, sorry, we're going to go into a little bit of politics, so beer politics, things that have happened in the area that kept these businesses running? Are there some that are still running out there that you hope continue, or any that you want to just kind of go away now that COVID has sort of gone away?
Well, I think what's been great, I'll just focus on the QR code. Like, how awesome, the QR code was going to be dying. It was going to be a dinosaur before COVID. And now think about how when you've gone to the breweries, when you had the touchless ordering systems, all of a sudden QR codes, like everybody on this podcast and all the listeners probably know how to use a QR code. And it's like QR codes are back, right? That's like, I think that's pretty cool. So that's been great. And I think, people have just found new ways to use technology, new ways to deliver, new ways to enjoy beer. So what should go away? I don't know. Well, in my hometown, I'd like to see some of the outdoor seating go away and some of the streets reopen, but it's all good. Every once in a while, I still try to turn my car down a street that's been turned into an outdoor dining area. So we'll see, but that's just me. I can't still remember not to turn down that street anymore. So
yeah. Fair enough. One more before I pass it on to Nick, though. This one, we'll see how long this one goes. But enough about GABF. Let's talk about you. Tell us about your history in terms of beer, when you started drinking, getting into craft beer, and, the Homebrewers Association.
Oh boy. So I grew up in Minnesota. We would drive. We were close enough to Wisconsin at the time, so we had different drinking ages. My parents aren't listening, so we used to drive across to Wisconsin to purchase beer in those days. Some people might understand what that means because they had different ages. But I think my real introduction to craft beer was when, after college, I moved out to the Bay Area in California. And all of a sudden I had Anchor Steam.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
I had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I had a Gordon Biersch, the first Gordon Biersch, right around the corner from my house. You all know what Gordon Biersch is. So fresh Martzen. And so those three were like magic in a glass for me. And really, I was like, wow, this has opened my eyes on what great beer is and how fun it is to drink beer. How I got to where I am today, fast forward, I worked most of my career in the active outdoor and ski industry and entertainment industry. And I'd say about, a long time ago, when Dale was just getting Oscar Blues started and hand canning up the street here in Lyons, Colorado, he knocked on my door. I was working for a backpacking company at the time, and he knocked on my door with a sample of Dale's Pale Ale and said, I want to partner with you to market my beer as the backpacking beer because it's amazing. It's in a can and you can take it with you. So I worked on a project with him, and that was great fun. And 10 years later, I'm walking down the street and I see an awning that says the Brewers Association. And I'm one of those people, when I see something, I go home and Google it, and my job is listed. They're hiring. And I was like, this sounds really amazing. I would love to work in the beer industry because, outdoor industry, beer industry, a lot of same small businesses, a lot of community. And so I'm like, wow, I don't know anybody. I better, so I emailed Dale. I said, hey, do you know anyone at the Brewers Association? And he's like, yeah, hold on. And then all of a sudden I get this email I'm copied on from Dale to the CEO, Bob Pease. It says, hey, Bob, meet Ann. I knew her before she went to jail. before she went to prison. But hey, really, no, seriously, she's a really great gal and you should consider her. So that was my introduction. And I was like, oh my God. But he really helped open that door. And then here I am now at the Brewers Association. So,
That is amazing, Nick. I'll leave it to you.
And I have not been to prison.
I was gonna leave it to Nick for the follow up on incarceration.
I didn't want to ask that question, but I'm glad that you said cleared up. Like, no, I did not go. So
no, that was just fabrication.
So let's go back to the festival for a moment. You mentioned how many breweries now? Over 500.
We have 500 breweries on the floor.
500 breweries on the floor. How do you, because obviously you have to draw a line somewhere in the sand, or is it just, if you apply to be a part of the festival, you get a booth? How do you draw the line, or do you say, if you want to come to GABF and you want a spot here at the festival, you are welcome to come? How do you manage so many breweries? And do you draw the line somewhere? Is there a cap as to how many breweries come?
There has to be a cap, especially this year because the convention center is under construction. So we went from 10 football fields to 6 football fields. So we work with our exhibit company to plot the square footage and go, okay, how many physical booths can we fit in here? And we have, it's first come, we were able to accommodate everyone that wanted to come in this year, but sometimes we have a cap and some years we can't fill it, but it's first come, first serve. And usually that registration window is open for a week and we fill up right away. And then our events team does an amazing job of, playing, I don't know what you would call it, how you squish stuff like, oh, maybe over here, there's a little extra room and we can get this buddy in, because we don't want to say no to anybody. But yeah, it's a big process to put that floor plan together and figure out how many people we can fit in there. And then also figure out, it's not just how many booths, but how many bodies are going to be in that hall, because then, we have to make sure that the fire marshal is happy with us too.
The logistic side of a festival, besides the actual product that tens of thousands will be coming in to sample over the course of 3 days next weekend. It's stuff that we just don't normally think about. This is probably obviously one of the larger beer festivals in the country. And this is in 2020. What was that, Rob?
I said hell in the world.
In the world. Okay. But this is probably the first year that we've been in a pseudo normal world, with COVID being hopefully on the tail end of it. Probably not, but at least to the point where we're not keeping ourselves locked in our homes, doing either a virtual festival or reduced attendance. Do you feel 2022 is the next step, getting back to that pre-COVID level of everything, engagement, in attendance, hype, all of the above? Do you feel like this year is the first year that we're back to normal at GABF, or do you feel like there's still one or two things maybe missing from the pre-pandemic years?
I think it's a step to normal. Like we're past the middle rung of the ladder, in my opinion, where people are still, some people are still choosing to stay at home. They're not quite ready. Others are running as fast as they can into as many people as they can. And so I think we're 1 year away from normal.
1 year away. So
that's just me.
That's just you. No, that's fine. And I think everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
So, me, for example, I sat out all of 2020. I'm a Lions season ticket holder. Let me set the stage there. I'm a season ticket holder. I sat out all of 2020 because there was a lot of uncertainty, and at the end of the day, they didn't allow anybody in anyway. But anyway, 2021 came rolling around. Barely been vaccinated, and I'm sitting in front of 60,000 people. Granted, I'm surprised the Lions had 60,000 people to begin with, because it's the Lions. So, what if you consider GABF at middle rung? In your own opinion, again, this is just opinion. What do you think? Is it just we just need to get further away from the pandemic? Because we obviously know it's out there. Who knows if it'll ever go away? We have to live with it. But is there something in your mind that's going to bring GABF back to what it was? Because you guys were averaging around 60,000 people up until it hit the fan. Is there, or is it just, we're just going to wait for people to just be comfortable and start coming back?
I think it's a lot of things, right? So unlike Detroit Stadium is outdoors, right? Indoors.
It's indoors.
Indoors.
Wow.
60,000 indoors.
It's one of the very few indoor football stadiums in the National Football League.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the indoor part and the drinking and eating and being close together, drinking and eating is something that people just need to get comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And, we're seeing rates drop, but there's still uncertainty. And, there's monkeypox, now there's other things. And it's just like, I think people need to settle into what a new normal is. And then we'll see. And next year we'll have more space again at the festival. So we'll be able to grow that space again and test to see, are people really ready? Mm-hmm. I think people are really ready, but I still know, I talked to many of my friends and I'd say, sample of, 10 friends, 60% are like, yeah, I'll go to the festival, no problem. And others are like, oh, I'm just not ready yet. It's just a little too much, like they're comfortable going to a small concert, or they're comfortable going to dinner out, or they're comfortable going to a dinner party. But, a festival with 10,000, 12,000 people a session, that's a lot. Just like going to a sporting event. So if you've been to a sporting event or you've been to a big concert, you're probably going to feel more comfortable. But I think we're still, when I was saying we're at that middle rung or 2/3 up that rung, I think that's just the place that people everyone needs to decide for themselves where they're going to feel comfortable.
And that makes complete sense. It took. Believe me when I went to that first game in 2021 last football season, I was nervous, and it's crazy sitting in front of 60,000 people that I'd never caught it. It took me sitting at a bar with my cousin catching it, and that was with 6 people rather than 60,000. But anyway, one last question before I turn it back over to Ken. I'm sure some of our listeners are going to be in attendance. Obviously, Ken and one of our other co-hosts, Dan, will be in attendance. What breweries are you personally looking forward to trying? And this is tough because you have so many. But is there one or two that stick out that you really are interested in checking out this year at GABF?
Oh, that is so hard. And since we represent everyone, I can't have a favorite child, right? So I think that, we've got over 400 breweries in the state of Colorado. So I get to travel and see them all the time. And I love every single one of them. But I think my focus is going to be on places that I don't get to very often. So I'm going to go to those states and those breweries that, in those smallest of the small tap rooms, and really try them and see what they're doing. Because often a lot of the creativity is coming out of those small breweries. So I don't have a specific brewery for you.
Right. No, it's right.
But that's kind of my plan for hitting the festival floor next week is places that I have to fly to instead of drive to.
So just 2 beers from the state of Michigan, Saugatuck's Bonfire Brown and Short's Melt My Brain. Those are the 2 that I would, if I saw them, I'm going to go for them because it's just, those are some of my personal favorites. And we all know Ken loves Browns. He loves them.
That Bonfire Brown's are really good.
It is really good.
Okay.
Yep.
True to style, like English style brown ale. So if you're a fan of that, that is one to go. I'm looking at the map right now, and it does say that you're going to have food trucks. Is that like, Are people going to just drive the trucks into the actual?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the beauty of having a concrete floor and a loading dock is we can just drive them right in. So we're going to have 5 food trucks, 4 food trucks. And then we've got this amazing taco truck that's also pouring beer out of their taco truck. So pretty excited. And then there's other concessions as well.
Now, I'm looking again at the map, and you do have sponsored by Partake. Dan was actually on the show a handful of months ago. It might actually be a year by now as time kind of blends together. Do you have a lot of NAAF type beers that are going to be presented this year, especially with the boom of NA beers in this country?
We have a great question. Partake is a sponsor of our designated driver booth. So for your listeners and other people coming to the festival, we love our designated drivers who make sure that all of the other beer lovers get home safely. So we set up an area for them with free massage, non-alcoholic beverages, food and snacks. We have 11 breweries that'll be pouring NA beers on the floor. I think there's about 22, 23 of those non-NA beers. Some of those beers are coming from NA companies, and others are coming from breweries that offer that as part of their selection.
Have you prior to this year, have you had something like that for the NA, for the designated drivers, or maybe the sober curious that still want to come and hang out?
Yes, we've always had NA beer offerings at the D booth, or we call it designated driver, but DD booth. And then as well as if people want to pour them in 2019, I believe Brooklyn Brewery was pouring their special effects at their booth. So it's been part of our festival. It's also part of our competition. We have NA beer in our competition as well.
How do you rate NA beer when there's not really, is there a style guideline for NA beer, especially because there's so many different styles of beer, let alone NA beer? We issue a beer style guideline every year, and that's what the competition is that's what they're judged to in the competition. And so they need to meet that style. We don't say like IPA NA or IPA, so it's more of a general style. And what, for those who are home brewers, you guys have the Homebrew Marketplace. What do you expect? Like, what would a consumer expect to see at the Homebrew Marketplace over at GABF?
Often we'll have things like Grainfather will be there with some of their latest in their gear in their equipment for home brewing. Some of the suppliers will be there with their malts and barleys. The AHA booth will be there, of course, so you can talk to the team about brewing. And then part of our collaboration booth is our Pro-Am winners. So we will have past winners of the Pro-Am competition, which is a competition where a professional brewery pairs up with a home brewer, and they scale that up for commercial reproduction, and they've entered and they've won. So you can actually go and taste some really amazing home brews.
Now, during your event, you're going to have almost like panel talks where you have special guests, people talking about different topics, including on Saturday evening, Julia Hers is doing a talk on homebrewing, getting hooked on homebrewing. What is one you're excited for? What is a talk that you're excited to hear? Is it Bart talking numbers? Is it Julia talking homebrewing? Like, what is something that's really piqued your interest that you might want to make sure you take your break during that time?
I think for me on Oh gosh, there's a lot of fun stuff. On Friday night, we have Garrett Oliver from the Brooklyn Brewery, and he is going to be kind of talking about the different legends of the Great American Beer Festival and the history. I get a little nostalgic, it's like its 40th anniversary. So he'll be talking tales of beer over the past 40 years. And he's a wonderful storyteller, wonderful personality, and I always learn something every time I listen to him or to some of the others that have been with us since the 80s.
Are we gonna have any let's say fermented adjacent products available at the event, or is it only beer?
This year it's only beer. You may notice a couple beer-based slushies from 903 Brewery on the menu. And we have a Roadhouse is going to do a session at the Brewers studio. Roadhouse is from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. They're going to do a pairing of one of their seltzers with ice cream, some homemade ice cream, and kind of talk about just pairing different things together. But this year it's going to be all beer.
Now, GABF, before we wrap up, is also a competition. People turn in and bring in beers of all different styles to win. When do they announce this year's winners?
The winners will be announced on Saturday, October 8th. The award ceremony starts at 10. It's going to be live streamed via the Brewing Network. And we'll put a link up on our website here pretty soon.
What's the Brewing Network? This is my first time hearing this.
The Brewing Network is another network, talks about beer all the time. So you'll have to check it out.
We're going to have to talk to somebody. We're going to need Better on Draft to do the streaming for this next year, for sure.
As like all three of us are typing this at the same time. Just like, what? The what? The what?
Yeah, I'm already there.
I took my notes. And I appreciate you coming on, giving us a chat about the Brewers Association and everything that goes on with GABF. Very excited to go, and I'm I'm less scared. I think I'm just going to kind of do what I normally do at festivals and just kind of like walk until I find something that looks fun, a name, a brewery, and just kind of show up and go. Cause that's definitely decision overload. Too many choices. People say there can't be too many. There is too many choices when the results are 5,000 different beers or however many different beer, 2,000 different beers. Before we end the show, we always ask one final question, and then we give you the opportunity. You said that there is still 1 day available for tickets, so we'll make sure people know what they could buy. But for those of you listening and maybe listening randomly, this is for the 2022 Great American Beer Festival. I hope we can talk to you and other representatives again next year to prepare us for the 2023 Great American Beer Festival. But Rob, what is your final question for Ann here?
My final question: what is the one thing that's at GABF that you wish you could do?
Oh, I wish I could dress up in an inflatable T-Rex costume and walk around and drink beer.
But the hands can't get there. I love that answer.
That's such a solid question that I never thought to ask, because I used to host events here in Michigan, not beer festival events, but technology and gaming events, and I never realized you don't get to really do any of the event. You have to work it, you have to support it, you have to be around.
Yeah.
You don't really get to enjoy it. You get to enjoy by proxy by seeing everyone else happy and having fun, and drinking, partying, and all that stuff. But you don't get a chance to really do that. That was a really good question, Rob. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Nick, what's your final question?
It is the week before GABF, but you're got to be drinking something this weekend. What beer are you going to be cracking open that you're really looking forward to this weekend?
Oh, gosh. It's going to be warm here in Colorado this weekend. It's like one of the last summer weekends. And I've got my Oktoberfest and my pumpkin ales, but I'm going to be, I love Wibby. They do a great job on lagers and radlers. So this is going to be my last weekend to drink radlers. And they have an amazing light shine wet radler that I'm going to be drinking in the sunshine this weekend.
All right, there you go.
All right, and my final question, of course, I did a lot of research when it comes to the festival, so I was getting ready and pumped, and I noticed something that I'm going to be honest, it irks me. You guys have a karaoke stage there.
Oh, stop it!
And I have been
you and me 3 o'clock during the member session. Ken, you and me.
Oh, okay. What are we singing?
I don't know. We'll find out.
My question was why, because I've been to way too many karaoke nights, and the train wrecks you see is just, lots of overconfident people. But at a festival, it just seems a little weird. Do you guys do karaoke every year? What is one of your favorite performances you've seen?
I can't remember. Yes, we have done karaoke for many years. It's a very popular event at the festival, for groups of people to go over, take a time out. It's just really a fun event. I just remember people, and I just love seeing the confidence. And often we have costume themes each session, so it's even more fun. So it's both a spectator and a participant event. It's like you don't even have to sing. You can go over there and be entertained. It's a reality show right there in front of your eyes. You don't even have to turn on the TV. So I encourage you, text me when you're at the member session, Ken. Let's go over to the karaoke stage and sing a song together.
You'll be all right, Ken. I'm thinking for you, at first my thought was going to be It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion, but I was going to back off of that one. And I'm pretty much, I think for you, 1 week, Bare Naked Ladies. You'll be all right.
I mean, I'm definitely a one-trick pony, and it's 1 week by Bare Naked Ladies. That's basically all I do for singing. But that's not really a duet song. That's just me.
All right. Well, you can do it on your own, and I'll film it and send it to these guys, and then they can post it on their channel.
I feel like Nick's seen it probably 100 times.
At least 100 times. At least 100 times.
That is going to do it. Great America Beer Festival is next week, Denver, Colorado. Tickets are still available for what session?
Thursday night, October 6th. So if you're in Michigan or anywhere else, get in your car, drive on over, and let's see you there.
That's going to do it for this episode 303 of the Better on Draft podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
All right.
Peace.
Cheers, everybody.